6 classic albums in a little over 4 years, and a front man who defined what we think about rock singers more than 40 years later. Today, we are going to talk about The Doors, and we are going to rank all of their studio albums. But before we will do that, I invite you to hit like for our video, and of course, subscribe to our channel and give us all of your comments in the end. Yeah, let's dive right in. We have 4 people ranking the albums.
First time on Rock Kaput.
We are Rock Kaput, of course. I'm Oliver. You already know Alex, and with us are our frequent American guest, Alexis, and we have a newbie here, which is Philip from Germany, and he's a huge Doors fan. So yeah, let's see how this one goes, and we start with our ranking, and yeah, we do 3 records each and go around 3 times. So in the end, you will have a nice set of lists about the Doors. So yeah, let's start, Alex, with your number 9.
Okay, first, I want to briefly say how I got into the Doors. I was introduced to them early on when I was 12 or 13, I think. I've seen the Oliver Stone movie and listened to the soundtrack, and then I was introduced to their first 2 albums, more compilations and the other albums. And yeah, I loved them immediately. I also loved the movie. And yeah, so I'm a pretty big Doors fan, I would say. And yeah, if you listen to that music so early, yeah, it means a lot to you for sure. So the other albums, the albums Full Circle and Other Voices, I've listened to for the first time. I listened to before going into this exercise. When going into this exercise, though. Okay, let's start with my number 9. My number 9 is An American Prayer, the posthumous released spoken word album. You could also consider it a Jim Morrison album with backing music by The Doors. It is kind of a different genre. It's I mean, it's basically his poetry with some music by The Doors. That's why I found it difficult to rank, and because it's kind of a different genres, I thought I will put it last because I couldn't really compare it with the other stuff, but I still like it. I am not as much a fan of Jim the Poet. I am more a fan of, I mean, of course, I like some of his lyrics very much, but I'm more a fan of Jim the performer and the singer. I like his voice and his vibe. I think he's great in creating an atmosphere alone with his voice. So and also this album is a nice listen. I like it a lot, but yeah, I kind of had to place it at number 9. Yeah, it has its moments for sure, but it can compete with the other Doors albums in my opinion. Okay, my number 8 is Full Circle, their 1972 album, which doesn't sound as Doorsy anymore. They had a hit on it called The Mosquito, which is quite a nice song, but they sound like, yeah, it could, yeah, maybe it couldn't be anybody. There are moments you can hear Manzarek, of course, and Krieger's style, but they kind of lost their identity. I mean, they lost their frontman, of course, and they I think it was an intentional change in musical direction. They wanted to do something different. They could have done it with another name, maybe. Yes, yeah, it doesn't feel like a Doors records to me, though. The lyrics don't have any meaning. They do a cover of an old rock and roll song, Good Rockin'. I don't know. Not really a bad album, but yeah, it's not that great in my opinion. My number 7 is Other Voices, the other record without Jim from 1971, which is a much better album. Um, and I also like the singing by Manzarek and Krieger. They get a lot of shit for it. I've read in other reviews and also on other YouTube channels, but I don't think it is. They do such a bad job. I think they are quite nice. I like the opener "In the Eye of the Sun" sung by Manzarek, or the single "Tightrope Ride." That are maybe the highlights for me. And yeah, I think the sessions are stylistically a continuation of the of LA Woman, and I think you can hear it. And yeah, I think it's a very good record, and yeah, I would recommend it to any Doors fan. Full Circle, not so much. Okay, that's my number 7.
Thank you.
All right.
So Alexis, the next.
So why don't I just say ditto and move on? Right? Because that's about where we are. But to explain how I got into the door. So in the mid 80s, I'm a heavy metal kid, but I have an older friend who's into classic rock, which now is called classic rock. Beatles and Stones and Zeppelin and the Doors. And while I like all of those bands, the Doors is the band that I really gravitated to because I found them intriguing because I didn't quite understand what they were. And now I know all these years later, they were everything, right? They were jazz and blues and rock and psychedelic. And so in that regard, I think they're quite different from all of their peers at that time period. And I would also say, going back to the first 6 albums, I'll put those 6 up against anybody's 6 in a row anywhere. And we'll get to that later. My problem with the 2 without Jim is you can't unhear Jim. And if it says the Doors on the cover, that's what I'm expecting. So no disrespect to the band. I do appreciate that even though they did think about replacing him, right, with Paul McCartney, with Paul Rogers, with Iggy Pop, of all people, they didn't. So I respect the fact that they honored Jim and not replacing him, but the direction they went in was a little lackluster. So at 9, I put in American Prayer, even though I really like this. But when you take bits and pieces that pre-existed, and Jim had envisioned a kind of orchestrated thing to go with this, with Lalo Schifrin doing it, and they took it and did their own version of it. To me, this is the origin of AI, right? This is just kind of a piece together thing. I enjoy listening to it because I do like Jim's poetry, but just again, out of respect for his legacy, I can't put this any higher than 9 because he had nothing to do with the end product. So at number 8, Full Circle. Mosquito's a fun song. Is it a Doors song? This is also not our first time without Bruce Botnick involved at all. I think that hurts them as well because he was there as a sound engineer early on, then a producer later on. I get that Robbie and Ray try, and I like Ray more than Robbie on vocals, but again, just not my thing. There's some great groove to the record. There's moments of really good musicianship, but then the vocals and the lyrics come in. And so to me, if this didn't have the Doors name on it, and I do a lot of this blind buying vintage records just by the cover, I would have bought this. I would have listened to it. I would have liked it, filed it away, and probably never played it again. So, and at 7, Other Voices. So this is now, as you said, first without Jim, much more of a Doors sounding album than what came after it. Still not great to me. And what's crazy about this is, so LA Woman comes out in April of 71. Jim dies in July. This is already out in October of that year. So this is an AC/DC Highway to Hell Back in Black kind of thing of how quickly they did a turnaround without replacing the singer, obviously. So again, like some of the musical moments in it, it does have some groove, but it just falls flat to me. I wrote the Eye of the Storm. It starts off good. From there, it sort of goes down. The songs that Robbie sings on, I'm not a fan of. And it ends on a good note with Hang On To Your Life. To me, I envision that song with Jim Morrison on vocals, and it's much longer than 6 minutes. This could have been another one of those epics. So a little too late for me. Those are my bottom 3. again, not horrible, and as a Doors fan, appreciate them. But what comes after this is magic. So,
Okay, thank you. So, Philip, your turn.
Yes, let me thank you for the invitation. First, I'm very glad to be here. And let me tell you how I got into the Doors. I discovered a sampler by the Doors between the records of my father. It was weird scenes inside the gold mine, and I was very fascinated. And then I then I paid a visit to my uncle, who's a musician, still playing guitar with 70 years, and I discovered many solo, many studio albums in his record between his records, and I took them on my tape, and I listened to them all the time. I was very fascinated by the Doors. I was a big Jim Morrison fan. I even imagined him in the schoolyard, standing there waving at me, and so I listened to them all the time. And so my ranking, placed 9 to 7, is a bit similar to Alex and Alexis, and I agree to them. I think that An American Prayer, it's not really a Doors album, but it's still with Jim. So my place 9 is, for me, is Full Circle. I agree with you both of you, that it's not the really Doors music. It's some good hits. I even like the rock cover there, but it's not the Doors anymore. And I don't like the background singing. There's too much background singing. So it's my place 9, number 9. My place number 8, it's Other Voices. I agree with Alexis. It's more Doors sound, but for me it's strange too that they published Other Voices just a few months after Jim's death, and well, I could never really listen to this album because I missed too much Jim. So, and my number 6 is An American Prayer, because it's still with Jim. It's not really a Doors album. It's not really with. They didn't write music for this album or really real songs, but it's still him. It's his prayers. His poems, and so for me, it's a clear number 7.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you placed the albums a little bit different because I was afraid to that we might have a pattern, and I will repeat the pattern right now. So yeah, on my number 9 is An American Prayer, and I had this one ranked on 8 before because there's Jim on it, right? And the music is more in the background. It's a little bit more pleasant. It hasn't these weird touches that Full Circle sometimes has. So I thought, well, that's a better album. But then I read a bit about more about the Doors history and how the albums after Jim's death came to be, and I thought, wow, that's how hard that must have been to go on just a couple of months after his death, and they referred to him as a friend, right? And so they lost someone they shared a lot of time with. I think Ray knew him the longest, and still they had to come out with this album 3 months after his death, and not only did they have to go through the trauma of losing a friend, but they had to replace Jim Morrison. I mean, what a task is this? And that was at a time when I said he defined what we think about what a rock star is today. And so back in the day, you couldn't just replace him with someone. There was no template for this, right? I mean, you had Mick Jagger, who was a superstar, maybe a little bit later, Robert Plant, but up until this point, the frontman in a rock band was just some guy singing, right? there wasn't this mystique around him, and that was something that Jim brought in. So I have to give my respect to those guys for putting out these albums, and I think they didn't do that bad of a job, but they don't have the voices. I think that these two albums, I have Full Circle on 8 and Other Voices on 7. I don't want to dwell too much on each of them, so I wrap this one up in one go. Because they sound like, when I listened to these albums, I thought, well, these albums sound very white. There's no real groove to them. The voices just sound kind of bland. They sound like an uncle singing rock music. There's a bit of a Las Vegas vibe to them, I think, a bit show tuney. But then I thought, well, maybe it's just these guys who don't have the charisma to do it, and maybe these albums would be amazing with Jim singing over them. Who knows? Because I mean, Other Voices was planned with Jim. It was written, and they just recorded it without him. So who knows? So yeah, these are my first three, and I forgot to mention. This is the first time I listened to the full albums of The Doors. Before going into this, I only knew the best of compilation, a double CD, not the one that Alex just showed. And I got into that by the Oliver Stone movie, which I watched, I don't know, my early 20s, smoked a lot of weed, watching it, loving it, and getting into The Doors. So yeah, but it was pretty adventurous to listen to these albums as a whole for the first time. And yeah, these are my first three. Let's go on with number 6, and it's Alex's turn again.
Okay, so number 6, my number 6 is the Soft Parade from 1969. It's kind of a difficult case, a little bit. So it has a very good production, but for a different band, in my opinion. It's a bit sugar-coated, a bit more commercial for The Doors. Reminds me a little bit of the Phil Spector situation on Let It Be, because he was also trying to sugarcoat songs like The Long and Winding Road, famously criticized by Paul McCartney, and also some other tracks. Yeah, to make them sound more syrupy. At the same time, this album is very complex and has very difficult parts. It is kind of unfitting for The Doors. Also, the lyrics are less deep than on other albums. I think The Doors are not that kind of band for this. On songs like Touch Me, it has kind of a Fat Elvis vibe to me. But I mean, don't forget, also the late Elvis also had some great moments. Also, this album has some great moments. But to me, it's kind of boring compared to the other albums. It's a tamer, domesticized version of The Doors. The adventure, the danger, and the excitement is kind of gone. Except for the title track in the end. Then their punk attitude comes back. A great vocal performance by Jim. It feels a little bit like an apology for what came before, and a course correction, because on the next album they are back. The Doors are back. Yeah, and yeah, that's my number 6. Yeah, for its lack of Doorsiness. It doesn't sound like a Doors album to me, and there is something missing, and they I don't know. Also, the songs are not there. I like about them. My number 5 is I was switching this 10 minutes ago. My number 5 is Waiting for the Sun from 1968, an album I really love. I like a lot, except for the opener. Hello, I Love You is really one of their worst songs. I don't like it at all. It's kind of a 60s throwaway song. that could have been done by, I don't know, a band like the Hollies or something like that. It's kind of an attempt to write a chart hit on purpose, in my opinion. Not fitting to the Doors and feels unrepresentative to me. But I love the rest of the album: Love Street, 5 to 1, Not to Touch the Earth, with a great guitar lick. I think this is quite an underrated song. I don't hear this mentioned a lot. I love the song, Not to Touch the Earth. Also like Summer's Almost Gone. This album had a bit more lighthearted attitude, and you don't get how deep and good it is when you first listen to it, but later it wins you over. It has very tasteful arrangements, and especially Manzarek sounds great on this. Yeah, I think it's very, very sophisticated, a fantastic sequencing after Hello, I Love You. The album is perfect. Yeah, I like it a lot. My number 4, this Morrison Hotel from 1970. And this one was battling with Waiting for the Sun all the time between my 4 and 5. And Morrison Hotel kind of won. It's probably because it has the better kick-ass opener with Roadhouse Blues. Very strong, one of their best and most iconic songs. And yeah, Peace Frog, they even can do funky stuff. Yeah, a very consistent record. Yeah, I love Blue Sunday. I love the song The Spy with great ambiguous lyrics, which are a bit similar. They reminded me a little bit of Every Breath You Take. It's kind of similar topic by the Police. And yeah, I don't like the album cover that much. But yeah, this is also a great album. I love it. So that's my number 4.
Okay.
Okay.
Alexis.
So I will say almost ditto. So number 6 is going to be Soft Parade. So 4th album from 1969. And Phil, you're new here. These guys know I like my stats. So got to number 6 in the U.S. Touch Me, number 3. 3 others in the top 40. It went platinum in the States. It didn't certify in Germany. I mean, we want to throw some Germany stats out for you guys today. So as we know, Paul Rothchild produced everything up to LA Woman. And this was also his idea to bring in these strings and brass and kind of expand their sound. I agree with Alex. It's weird. I don't dislike it. I actually think they pull it off, and I may like it better if it wasn't in the context of the Doors discography, but it is. So I'm putting it at number 6. To tell all the people, I mean, the opening track, right away, you know something is different. And then it kind of just stays in that pocket. Shaman's Blues, I think, is good. That's a little bit more of what is to come. Wild Child, slow and slinky. Jim pulls it off, right? But Wishful Sinful, you got strings, you got this classical arrangement. Soft Parade ends it, and I love it. And that's a really cool epic. And they do these extended 8 and 10-minute songs better than anybody of that era, maybe better than anybody. So there's redeeming qualities to this, but of the 6 that we're now going to talk about, it's number 6. Number 5, right in line, Waiting for the Sun. So their 3rd album from July '68, number 1 in the States on the Billboard charts. Their only number 1 album, believe it or not. Unknown Soldier gets to 39, not a real big hit, but then Hello becomes a number 1 smash, and so that breaks it. It is platinum in the States, and it goes gold in Germany. By now, the band has used up most of their songs on the first 2 albums, so now they're kind of scrambling to get some fresh material. Jim, though, is having his problems with drinking that hurt the recording session. So this is an album that is good, but not great because of those factors. Hello, again, a big hit. This goes back to the 1965 days when they were Rick and the Ravens, right before Robbie joined the Doors, the precursor to the Doors. We got some Love Street, kind of an okay ballad, but not to touch the earth. Now we're getting this frenetic, psychedelic. This was part of what was Celebration of the Lizard, which was this 17-minute piece that I think had they put that on this album, it changes the dynamic. It got scrapped. It got released later. Worth checking out. Ended up on some compilations. Unknown Soldier, I've never been a big fan of. I get the point of it, and it's anti-Vietnam, but I like a song like Jimi Hendrix Machine Gun. I think that conveyed the message much better. I will say, though, it ends on 5-1, an absolute all-out jam, heavy, groovy, proto-metal, if you will, and there's more on that later on. And then number 4 is going to be, for me, Strange Days, and a strange cover. You know, the Doors are only on it on this poster, which was actually the same image as the back of the first album. So this is released in 67, second album. Gets to number 3 in the States. Strange Days, number 12 single, and 2 times the number 25 single on our charts. It's a platinum album here. It's a gold album in Germany. It's also the second album that they released this year. Expanded use of instruments and studio techniques, but to me, straight on, full on psychedelic, right? This is where they really embrace that. Strange Days, for sure, talks about the hippie youth culture. You're a Little Lost Girl. This is the first song that Robbie wrote before the Doors. I've heard it described as a psychedelic Sinatra ballad, which I think is right on. 2 times, you get a mix of blues and Baroque. So again, it's showing all of these different influences they have. Won't go every song. Music is over at the end. This 11-minute epic, again, just shows that they could compose a song like no other. The musicianship was great. And then you're infusing Jim's dynamic way of using his voice to sell these songs. So I think that's an incredible way to end. And had the next 3 albums not been as good as they are, this might be a different conversation. And that's why I say these 6 are so great. But so that's my middle 3.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, we don't have that much variety because I put the Soft Parade on place 6 too. I think the Doors, they wanted to make something different in this album. They wanted to use strings, they wanted to use horn, fiddle. It is okay, but it's a different sound, a different Doors sound. And I agree with Alexis that the Soft Parade is a very ingenious song. It's very various. It's it's got different parts, and I also like Wild Child. I once played it with my uncle, him on guitar, me on piano. So I like it too, and I would also put it in my top 10 Doors songs. But the rest I don't really like, and so it's number 6. On number 5, I agree with Alex. I also have Waiting for the Sun, Alexis too. I like a lot of numbers here. I also like Wintertime Love, a waltz, kind of waltz. I like it very much. One of my favorite songs is 5-1 too, but it's hard to choose the best album between the first 5 albums. It's a very there are only nuances between the albums, but Waiting for the Sun, I don't. It's not that good as the other albums of the Doors, and so my number 3, similar to Alex once again, is Morrison Hotel. There it was very hard to choose because this album for me was battling with the album I put on number 3. You will see. It was very hard to choose, but I can't really say why I put it on number 4. Maybe only because I had to put an album on number 4. There are a lot of very good songs. I love Maggie McGill too, and Land Ho, even Land Ho, the shanty. I like it very much. I don't really like Blue Sunday, Ship of Fools, The Spy. So for me, it's Doors album number 4.
Okay. So, haha, I will fuck it up right now. Um, so, places 6 to 4 were those I struggled with the most. The last 3 were easy. The first 2 were easy. Then number 3 fall in place pretty quickly. But places 4 to 6, I was switching around. And well, in the end, this is how I decided. So on number 6, I have LA Woman. It could have switched easily with number 5. You will see which one that is. And LA Woman is well, the style they are going for here is mostly blues, I'd say. And I like blues, but I think it isn't that exceptional to play a blues. It's not the music the Doors invented. Thousands of artists have done it before, and in the end, no matter who does it, blues always sounds like the blues. So LA Woman is a bit. It lacks a bit of excitement and variety for me. I like Lover Madly. It's a song that was on that compilation I owned, so I knew that one. Been Down So Long, Car Hissed by My Window, straight blues songs that don't do anything for me. LA Woman, of course, is a nice song, but I like the more adventurous stuff of the Doors more. L'America is one of those songs, and the Doors always have these songs that annoy the shit out of me. I think it's okay. They have these tracks, but so that doesn't do that much. I think Hyacinth's House is nice. And of course, Riders on the Storm. Riders on the Storm is pure magic, a great song, one of the greatest songs ever. But in the end, that's not enough to bring this album above number 6 for me. On number 5 is an album that doesn't differ that much from this one. From LA Woman, I think it's Morrison Hotel. But I think it has a little bit more variety and excitement to it. I like Roadhouse Blues. Maybe I'm contradicting myself. I don't have anything against the blues, but this is just a little bit more exciting. Waiting for the Sun is a masterpiece, great song. I like Peace Frog. I like Blue Sunday. And I even grew to like Land Ho, which at first I didn't like at all, but then somehow it kind of clicked. And Queen of the Highway, I also like that one. There are just more songs that I gravitate towards, and there's a little bit more variety over the whole album. So that's my number 5. And on number 4, and now I'm going to tell you why you are wrong, I have the Soft Parade. Because exactly for the reasons you don't like it that much, I have it on number 4 because it's an album that is a complete outlier in their discography. They tried something different, but still remained the Doors. When I was talking about the albums with Ray and Robbie singing, I said they sometimes remind me of Las Vegas show tunes, and that's the vibe I get from Tell All the People and Touch Me. But Jim Morrison just pulls it off. I love Touch Me. I think it's a cool song. It's somehow goofy, but it works. It's got this drunken show tune vibe that I really like. I think Shaman's Blues is blues done right, with this psychedelic feel. I even grew to like Running Blue, which I hated in the beginning because of its weird yokel chorus that is totally out of place in the song because the verses are just great, and then this chorus just kills it. But in the end, I came to accept it and like it for what it is. Wishful, Sinful, beautiful, the Soft Parade, great. So I like this album for that they tried something different, and it gives another side of the Doors. And so yeah, that's my number 4. Alex.
Okay, good. We have some variety here.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is Strange Days. Yeah, their psychedelic album. The band itself seems to love this album the most, I've read. Yeah, they are more experimental here in the studio. They use more instruments like marimba, and also the Moog synthesizer. I think it's one of the first times the Moog synthesizer has ever been used on an album. Yeah, and it contains, in my opinion, some of Jim's best lyrics. It's a very ambitious album, not as spontaneous and immediate as the debut. And yeah, I think it's very coherent and everything fits together. I think it's their best album cover. I think it totally contains this kind of circus atmosphere. The Doors have on any album, they have some songs that remind you of the circus tunes. And yeah, my favorites are Moonlight Drive for its eerie atmosphere. Yeah, I love People Are Strange. Yeah, I also was introduced to this song with the Lost Boys soundtrack, sung by Echo and the Bunnymen. They covered it. Yeah, my eyes have seen you. I really love this album. It's great. My number 2 is LA Woman from 1971. Yes, it's a very bluesy album. And I'm not a fan of the pure slow blues. That's not really my thing. But and there are a few tunes here I'm not a big fan of, but for the most part, they do a very tasteful version and a very elegant swingy version of the blues, and I love that. Just like in LA Woman. And yeah, I also like Hyacinth House, written by Raymond Zarek, inspired by a Chopin tune I read by the Polish composer. And yeah, it contains Riders on the Storm. It's great. And this was also the first time they didn't produce with Paul A. Rothschild and went for a self-production and hired their sound engineer, Bruce Botnick, who also worked on Pet Sounds, by the way. So this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah, and the approach was trying to get everything recorded as live as possible, just like the debut. And I think they did a great job. The interplay here is great. Yeah, it's also sometimes a little jazzy. They are returning to their roots. Yeah, and Jim's singing is fantastic. And yeah, it's a great album. I love it. And my number 1, guess what it is? It is the debut, The Doors 1967, their Drop Down Dead classic. Yeah, recorded famously after playing live excessively around LA. They were so well rehearsed. They banged it out. And that is one of the reasons this album is so good. You get more or less the live sound of the band. Yeah, super important psychedelic album with incredible songs and an incredible Jim Morrison. I think on this one, you can also hear how important Jim was on punk music. Yeah, this doesn't get talked a lot, but we also talked about this in our Stooges episode because Iggy Pop was very impressed by Jim Morrison, and if you know this, you can hear it in you can see it in his performance, and you can hear it in his singing, because he copied a little bit the aggressive Jim, not so much the sensual Jim. and added a kind of a psychotic edge, and then you get Iggy Pop. So yeah, and there were other singers trying to, of course, trying to emulate Jim. I think the ones that stood out most to me are Ian Astbury of The Cult. So I love him a lot. I think he's one of my favorite of the newer, younger rock singers. Also Glenn Danzig. And what I also found out while listening to this, who is also inspired by the poet kind of Jim, and he has also a similar voice, is Adam Green. It's a kind of a singer, folky singer-songwriter. And he did some great albums in the early 2000s. And yeah, he gives me Jim Morrison vibes sometimes. So yeah, and of course, I love all the songs here. Alabama song written by Bertolt Brecht, Light My Fire, The End. Yeah, and of course, Break On Through, one of their very best songs. I tried to play it on bass when I was younger. Yeah, great album. I love it. That's my number one.
Okay, Alexis.
Okay, so number 3 for me is Morrison Hotel. So February 1970, this gets released. Number 4 in the States, but no top 40 singles. It does go platinum here, doesn't certify in Germany. So gone are the brass and strings and all of that stuff that came before. This is now blues rock, right? And more on that later. Roadhouse Blues from the start just rocks. I love that song, and they bring in some piano and some harmonica. I mean, it just, to kick off an album like that, that's how you do it. Waiting for the Sun. Now this is bringing back a song they were going to do on the album of that name, and it didn't work out then. So that's kind of bluesy, psychedelic, some distorted guitar, some cool keyboard. I like that. You Make Me Feel Real, garage blues. Again, you're mixing this up. Peace Frog, another cool song. The Spy, I actually like that quite a bit. Indian Summer, soft, somber. Again, showing different sides of. You think of Jim as just this kind of aggressive and abrasive person, but he really was at heart a crooner and a balladeer in many ways. And Maggie McGill, a great way to end that. So number 2, I'm definitely shaking things up. We're going with the debut. January 67. So it gets to 2 in the States. It does not make number 1 because of a little known album called Sgt. Pepper's. Keeps it out of the top spot. The first single, Break On Through, only gets to 126. It is not a hit. They don't come out the gate. But then, Light My Fire, number 1 single, 4 times platinum at this point in the States, 1 time platinum in Germany. And to me, this is the shot heard around the world. So we've now had the British Revolution, right? The invasion. We have the Stones, and we had the Beatles, and all of a sudden the Doors come out of the States with a sound blending influences, but also quite different from what everyone is used to. So to me, the opening track, Break On Through, this is the origin of, and I'm saying heavy metal, I'm not even saying hard rock, the aggression, the vocal delivery. This is for 67, a heavy track, and absolutely an inspiration of what was to come. Soul Kitchen, I really like. Funky blues rock, Jim Brown inspired. 20th Century Fox, just a great rock and roll song. Backdoor Man, now to really get into blues again and doing a Willie Dixon song, and I like it. I like the sound. And then the end, right? So now we're talking about another great epic, 11 minutes, shows this band at the height of their powers, even though this is at the beginning, an absolute masterpiece. Love the debut, but sorry, Oliver, it doesn't beat this. And you bring up an excellent point in that this is blues, full-on blues rock. And in essence, blues is a very simple and basic music, but it's about feeling. And to me, the way that they jam, the way that Jim conveys things, separates them from Paul Butterfield and John Mayall and all these other guys that I do love. but I just think they did this right and did it so good and in the pocket. And it's such a groove throughout this whole album. This is not just my favorite Doors album. This is, you can see I got a lot of records, right? This is in my top 20 or 30 probably of any era genre. I worship this record. So released in April of 71. It only gets to 9 in the States. They've lost some traction, but they have a couple of top 20 hits. It does go 3 times platinum here, and it's gold in Germany. And Oliver, you mentioned this. So Paul is getting disenchanted with the band and vice versa. And so Bruce Botnick comes in to produce this, and it's his idea to do this makeshift studio in their private rehearsal. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different vibe. And now they have Bruce producing, and that's where I think the magic of this album comes from. To me, this is the absolute apex of blues rock and of this band. I won't go into all the songs because I could be here all day long, but I just love the groove and the atmosphere that this whole thing has, leading up to Crawling King Snake, which does John Lee Hooker proud. And then we end with Riders of the Storm, which is this mystical, spiritual, unbelievable ending to an album. I mean, this is, to me, just the perfection of the band. And this is an album that just transports you, takes you to another dimension. Maybe even more so if you have a few gummies. And by that, I mean Hairbo, everyone out there. To me, this is my album for the Doors.
Nice. So, Philip, give us yours.
My number 3 is The Doors, their first album. As I said, for me it was concurring with Morrison Hotel, and I think I put it on 3 because it has the end. The end is ingenious, track 2. And I also love Take It As It Comes, one of my 10 favorite songs too of The Doors. And you did mention the Alabama song, I think, is very good too. Yes, so for me it's number 3, very good album, and in the same year, the second best album appeared, Strange Days. For me, too, it's the best cover they ever did on both sides. It's got so many famous songs. Strange Days, Unhappy Girl, People Are Strange, very good songs, and even the poem is very good. When the still sea conspires in armor, as sullen and aborted currents breed tiny monsters, to sailing is dead. So I even like this poem too. And of course, it has When the Music's Over, another 11-minute track, and very. I also said to my wife, I want to hear no. I want it at my funeral party when the music's over. Turn out the light. So this is number 2, and I completely agree with Alexis. Number 1, L.A. Woman. For me,
I like this guy. This is a great addition to the show, gentlemen.
For me, the Doors, they were always a blues rock band, and this is their masterpiece in blues rock. It's the most major and the most entire album for me from the Doors, and I like all the tracks. By the way, Hyacinth House, they say there was a prediction of Jim's death in the lines. I see the bathroom is clear. I think that somebody's near. I'm sure that someone is following me, and he died in the bathroom in the same year. So it's very strange too. I also like Cast by My Window, where he does a solo with his voice as if it was a guitar solo. And even I don't really like the Wesp, but it has something special to the Wesp. Half of the song spoken, not sung, and very ingenious, this album. So for me, the clear number 1, the masterpiece, L.A. Woman.
Okay. Yeah, nice to have some friction here. Okay, so on number 3, I have the album that grew the most of me during this exercise because on the first go, I had this way low, but yeah, it ended up at number 3, and it's Waiting for the Sun. Um, I think it is from start to finish one of the most consistent albums they did. Um, just a great collection of songs. I like "Hello, I Love You." Even if it's a silly pop song, still love it. Um, Even when the Doors are doing these, let's say, small shallow things, it's always a little bit weird. And "Hello, I Love You" has this almost kind of mechanistic feel. It sounds a bit like like these little I don't know what's the mechanical music boxes or something like that, and I like that about the song. "Love Street" is just beautiful. "Not to Touch the Earth," you already mentioned it. Great. I absolutely love Spanish Caravan. Um, Probably one of my most favorite Doors songs. Just blows me away every time I listen to it. Um, My Wild Love is the token song I hate on every Doors album. Just Jim chanting away, and it goes on forever, seemingly. Yeah, but it's still an album with so many great songs. So that's my number 3. Talking about consistent albums, I really thought about putting this one on number 1, but in the end, it ended up on 2. But I think when we look at bands from that time period, I mean, that was a time when albums weren't what we are used to that albums are today. It was mostly just a collection of songs these guys had at that moment in time, and they put out 2 albums every year. So there wasn't really time for lofty ideas or concepts or stuff like that. But I think "Strange Days" is the album that comes closest to what we today think of albums. Like something that catches one feeling and one sound and puts it into different songs. And I think "Strange Days" is just a beautiful album, um, with full of great songs. Even the song I don't like, you recited it. It's not really a song, but "Horse Latitude," you can say it's over quick, so that's fine as well. But yeah, it's just starts off great. "Strange Days," "Your Lost Little Girl" is just the emotion that Jim puts in his voice is just amazing. "Love Me Two Times," of course. "Moonlight Drive," great. "People Are Strange." Yeah, it's in every other discography that this would have to be on number 1, but the Doors have their debut, and that is my number 1. I just couldn't resist it, and I think it was clear from the start that it would end up on this place, just because there are so many all-time classics that have survived through the decades and are on top of the pantheon of rock music, and you can't deny that. I think "Break On Through," "The Crystal Ship" is beautiful. I don't know why I love Alabama song so much, but every time that song comes on, I have to sing like a drunken sailor, going along with it. Just great. "Light My Fire," of course. I think that was the first song I ever listened to by the Doors. I think it was in some these samplers that you could buy over home shopping on television, and there was these 60s collections, like 20 discs or something, and they always played "Light My Fire," so I think that's where I heard the Doors first. Yeah, and of course the end, that's just lights out. That's such an amazing song, and "Father, yes, son, I want to kill you." That just amazed me when I listened to it for the first time. So yeah, that's my number one. That's it.
Cool.
So, any last words? Everyone is speechless. Okay, so let's just wrap this thing up, I'd say. This was our ranking of the studio albums of The Doors. Thank you, Alexis and Phil, for doing this with us. And yeah, give us your thoughts, your comments. What are your favorite albums by The Doors? Tell the other guys why I am right with placing the Soft Parade on number 4, and why they are wrong with liking LA Woman. No, just kidding. Yeah, give us your list. Tell us your opinions about Jim Morrison, where you listen to The Doors first, and of course, hit like and hit subscribe and support our little channel. We need all the love we can get. Break on through to the other side. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.